Well, hello everyone. It's about that time. This is your amazing new host, Dr. Mischele Watson, and I personally want to welcome you to my new podcast, Let's Just Talk About It, the premier place to keep up to date on some amazing topics and discussions that will encourage you to consider the phenomenal power of change. I hope you enjoy the show, so let's get straight into it. Well, hey y'all. Great evening. Welcome to this episode of Let's Just Talk About It. I'm your host, Dr. Mischele Watson, and I'm so excited to have you with me today. Today's episode is just you and I. Is that okay? Just you and I today as we talk a little bit about the power of change. But I would be remiss if I did not thank some amazing people helping to make this podcast possible. Thank you to my production team and producer Kratos Media, and our intro and outro music by Dr. Ronnie Song of August Child Media. I want to welcome you tonight as I launch the first 12 episodes of Let's Just Talk About It, Season 1. And we are so pumped. We're pumped over here. I'm in my new studio. And tonight, again, it's just you and I. And we're going to share a few things and set the stage for what's to come. Y'all ready? That's one of my favorite sayings. I want to ask a quick question. And of course, this is a rhetorical question, right? But do you ever just stop and think out loud? Things that make you wonder and why others decide to do the things a particular way, or what makes us tick outside the box of societal norms. This new podcast will drive an enlightened conversation to address our own roadblocks and understand and account for the barriers that keep others bound by an all or nothing mentality. You see, many of my guests will provide insights into how to actually learn to see through a different lens and focus on the change that will make a difference for a lifetime. It will inspire you maybe to laugh, to cry, and simply imagine all the wonderful possibilities as we talk about it despite life's traumas or even circumstances, because life be lifing, okay? And there is something to love when we think of being changed beyond the challenge. And I hope you will stick with us through this entire episode today. And as we do kick off this very special episode, talking about our own personal growth and transformation, we'll talk about some psychological and emotional aspects of individual change, self-improvement, and I hope many of you are encouraged by your own personal development. So some exciting things we're going to talk about today. And I want to make sure that you stay to the end because this is where we're going to hear from our audience. We want you to send us a topic that you feel you'd like us to just talk about, okay? And we'll possibly use it for one of our upcoming episodes. And we'll make sure that you get all the credit, okay? So send me an email to Dr. K, the letter K, Mischele, Mischele Watson @gmail.com. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. So send me some great topics to talk about. First, okay, let's talk about two amazing projects God really blessed me with. And 2 years ago, which remains very relevant today, is I wrote my first published book, When Change Becomes Your Only Option. It was my experience that catapulted this whole passion about change. Today, I take it 10 steps further by finding space to change. And I encourage you to change your own life with no regrets. We will never become better if we don't talk about it. So we're going to do just that. Talk about it. Okay. So for our first season, we have so many great guests that are going to share some phenomenal topics with you. I also remember that it was just yesterday, the pain of transparency here, self-rejection. Um, but what was also being birthed was a love for my own self-worth and determination. Sometimes life will serve you some curveballs. How many know what I'm talking about? And unexpected turns and twists in life, right? And I'm here to tell you, there were times that I felt boxed in and lost because of life. Actually, if I'm being completely honest, and I want to be, is that my mental health was in shambles at times. And it was at this time when this scripture, um, that David said that we often need to encourage ourselves. And I took that to heart because I began to pin my thoughts to paper. And I began to encourage myself to embrace the power of change. See, change is not a challenge when it's your only option. How many of you can relate to that? See, I'm a firm believer when you change your perspective, you change your experience. So writing that book literally pushed me in to see my own fullest potential. And it caused me to live life in another dimension. And it was really in that spiritual dimension where my second book was birthed, Thinking Out Loud About Change, right? And so this book right here really set me up to see and experience the power of change in its fullness. And it was actually something that I did constantly. They say the only thing constant is change. And you see, change, listen, change isn't a new phenomenon, as people do it every single day. Both, everyone, we all do it, right? We change our jobs, we change friends, we change our clothing styles, we change our hairstyles, right? We change careers, you name it. We're always changing. And what I realize is that often our minds wander about the many things that we wish we could do and never got a chance to get it done. We become sick and tired of just repeating the same cycle, right? Of loss and failure and just setting, ourselves up for disappointment. But I'm here to tell you today that you can imagine all the wonderful possibilities. I personally work to become more creative in my thinking of making measurable and sustainable change. Honestly, I believe the key to promoting growth and longevity is turning your dreams into a reality, whether personally or professionally. And here's the catch, it's all within reach. I began to explore what it means to live your best change. Even though my most difficult times and trying to avoid the pitfalls and the traps of an all or nothing mentality, I began to create a new journey for myself, down a new road, down that road to change, and to work and view my life through a very, very different lens, and to focus on those changes for me. Can I encourage you today to do that for yourself? To just start at the very beginning? Doesn't matter when, and it doesn't matter where. What's more important is that you begin. I know. It's the hustle of everyday life, and it can be easy to lose sight of the most important person in your life, you. Whether you're constantly caught up in the needs of others or just struggling to find a moment for yourself, it's important to take a step back and focus on your own well being. See, there is power in change, and there is power to work it every day in your life. And so, as we get down to the real nuts and bolts of this episode today, change beyond the challenge. I want you to understand as we have this conversation is that there must be a focus on you. Remember that it is you behind the curtain. And it's time to open up the curtain and imagine what you have the power to do through your own words, through your own faith, through your own opportunities to do something different. Focusing on yourself ultimately means that you're going to be creating a relationship with yourself that is caring, that is attentive, as the relationships you have with others, right? You know those relationships that we have with family and friends and partners, our spouses, our children. First is, do you realize how important it is to give yourself permission to put your needs first? And it goes beyond that occasional pampering yourself, right? You know, when you feel a little guilty because you know that you haven't done anything for yourself, time after time, I remind my clients it's okay to focus on you. I remind myself it's okay to focus on me, right? Because focusing on yourself allows you to acknowledge and address your whole self, whether it's mentally, emotionally, physically, and financially, more importantly, right? And this is all about making a commitment to understand what makes you tick, what makes you thrive, and what makes you really live your best life. I'm here to tell you, living your best life, it is not overrated. Okay? It is not overrated in any way. And I don't want you to think that it's also always tied to money, right? There are dozens and dozens of things that you can do that won't cost you money. But taking the time to focus on you will cost you absolutely everything. Can I say that again? It's going to cost you everything. So, putting yourself on the list of priorities, just like paying the bills, right? Shopping for others, putting yourself on the list has to be your priority. And when you start prioritizing yourself and you're not at the bottom of that list, but that you're investing in your long term well being, your long term change, not for the short term, focusing on yourself, let me tell you this, if you didn't know it, it's not selfish. It's necessary. It's a necessary step toward a happier, healthier life. And it makes the process of change much more enjoyable. I've come to love this whole notion of change. See, that's the birthing of thinking out loud about change because it's impacting every area of your life. And I'm sure you can see why I'm so passionate about it. So one day, as I was thinking about this, I was talking to one of my clients about enhancing her own self-esteem, and her confidence. And then, much of our conversation was about her focusing on her own needs and her accomplishments, and that it had to become as easy as breathing. Hmm. And I mean that literally, as easy as breathing. And when you think of it in that way, you will naturally build a stronger sense of self-worth. This doesn't mean that you become arrogant. Instead, you develop a healthy respect for yourself so that you can recognize your strengths, celebrate your successes, and understand your value. And more importantly, I want you to give yourself a way to improve your quality of life. When you are less stressed and more in tune with your needs, your overall quality of life improves. Stress, anxiety, exhaustion, they all can take an enormous toll on your life, both mentally and physically. So prioritizing yourself will always be the key. And you're likely to find, I almost will guarantee it, that you are happier, you're more relaxed, and you're able to enjoy your life fully. Now, as we continue our podcast and we simply just talk about it, I want you to be encouraged to create what I call guided goals. Guided goals for yourself are guided goals that I have even for myself. And those are goals that help me to achieve the things that I desire in life easier and more realistically. Knowing what you want to prioritize and what makes it easier to achieve is always at your hand. You control it. Whether it's your career aspirations, a personal project, a fitness goal, focusing on yourself provides clarity and motivation, something that you'll need in order to reach those milestones. And I remember those guided goals was what helped me to make better decisions in my life because I desperately needed to have a clearer understanding of my own values and my own priorities. And when I did, I'm here to tell you, I was able to make decisions more confidently and decisions that I no longer regretted. It means that you're more likely to make choices that align with your true self. Well, I want to just thank you today for joining us on this episode of Let's Just Talk About It. It is yet again the beginning of an amazing season of conversation. And I said earlier, I want you to make sure that you share with me, okay, some amazing topics because you stayed to the end on things that we can talk about that you want to have more conversation about. We're going to go in depth. We're going to pull back the layers of the onion. We're going to have deeper level conversations, right? That hopefully will help you to change the trajectory of your life. Because remember, real change begins with you first. Make sure you join us next week, same time, 8 p.m., as we embark on another great conversation with some amazing guests that will help change your life. Thank you for joining me. Have an amazing night. Goodbye. Well, everyone, that's all we got time for right now, but we'll keep the conversations moving and topics flowing. Join us for a new episode every Sunday at 8 p.m. for Let's Just Talk About It. Don't miss it, and don't forget to follow us on all social media platforms, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. We'll always have a little something for you if you do. I'm your host, Dr. Mischele Watson, and I'll see you on our next episode. Be blessed.